Oh, g'day, welcome to Choo. My name's Jacob, but you can call me Galgamech 9000. But today... Such a stupid intro. I don't know what I'm doing. Welcome to Choo. Xanthi here and I have just been traveling the cosmos trying to come up with interesting and new ideas, different recipes for types of booze, really. We don't mind a little cheeky drink. So today I'm going to share with you a berry wine that I came up with pretty much for my partner. Now, I'm a mead maker, amateur or an enthusiast at best. As you can imagine, I was pretty devastated when I found out that my partner, the mighty Quinn, who you would have seen in a bunch of these videos, has some serious IBS issues, irritable bowel syndrome. Essentially, there's certain sugars in certain foods that cause them to shit themselves close to death. So one of those sugars is a fructose, and another thing that comes from honey. So in other words, Quinn can't eat honey without blowing open their butt. Now, we haven't really explored the ins and outs because, as you know, as you probably know, or if you don't, yeast eats sugar and then converts that into alcohol and CO2. The CO2 dissipates and then you've got your alcohol. That's how all alcohol is made. So we don't really know if the sugars get properly consumed in the honey, and therefore maybe mead is okay, but often you back sweeten with honey. So we don't want to risk it. We might do some experiments, but imagine that experiment. It's like, drink this and hopefully you don't get diarrhea instantly. So it's a bit unfortunate because I'm such a mead enthusiast and I'm very passionate about it that I can't make it, but maybe one day we'll experiment. It's up to Quinn, really. So long story short, I've come up with a berry wine, which is quite nice because often when I make meads, I like to do melomels and stuff like that, or berries and stuff. So I like to add fruit to my mead. So today I'm going to be tasting a 4-month-old berry wine. It's not really wild berry, but there are a few wild berries in there, but let's just see how it turns out. Oh. So it's been aged, but only 4 months, which is okay, I think, for a wine. You'd probably want to go a little bit longer, to be honest, but... It's okay. This one might have been slightly oxidized. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's the most delicious thing I've ever drunk. It was pretty good a couple of months ago, but this one came from a bottle that I left open overnight, and it's oxidized a little bit, so it's a little bit yucky. It's still a little bit yeasty. In fact, that could be aged for a lot longer, but it's quite delicious. So I'm going to tell you how I made it. I'll show you my recipe, how I did it, and you could improve upon it. Let me know in the comments. So according to Adam Savage, technically I'm a scientist because, he did say...
Remember, kids, the only difference between screwing around and science is writing it down.
And wouldn't you bloody know it, I've written it down. We've got 2 kilos of random berries. So I've got blueberries in there and raspberries. These were frozen. I bought just from frozen berries from the supermarket. Strawberries, again, they were frozen. Blackberries that I actually found in the freezer that my cousin Alex, who you would have seen in a fucking shitload of these videos. Me and him collected a whole bunch of blackberries ages ago. I filmed it because we were going to make some sort of blackberry video out of it, but we never got around to it, so I have a bit of footage of that somewhere. Hopefully I can dig it up. Because I'm not using honey, you're not getting all those subtleties, so I just wanted to crank it out with fruit, so I found some dried sultanas, or raisins as the Yanks would call it, dried apricots, 2 cups of dried elderberries. This gives it that really, really dark color, as you can see there. I'll do a close-up of this in a minute. That dark color is really nice. If you just want to add a little bit of subtle flavors, a little bit of extra sugar, and really darken your mead or your wine, elderberries are amazing, especially when they're dried. They just really just saturate it with those really deep red hues. So I put all that in a big pot with a bit of water and I boiled it to get rid of any bugs or any little yucky things that might be in there. Added a little bit of sugar, so it dissolved into the warm water. Let that cool. Then I used the champagne yeast, the Lava EC1118, which is my favorite yeast because you can stop, it's got a very high alcohol tolerance in there, so you can really crank it, but you can also just neutralize it prior to it maxing out and stuff like that. I just think it's just such a robust yeast. It has a very good temperature range. Here in the Adelaide Hills where I live in South Australia, the temperature fluctuates. My house is on stilts. It can get quite cold and quite hot. You put the fire on, it's roasting. An hour with the fire off, it's fucking freezing again. So having a yeast that sort of has a bit of temperature range. Now, obviously you can use heat mats and climate control. I'm not quite there yet with my mead making or wine making. Down the track I will. I like to use a yeast that has a little bit of bit more range. Then I did a staggered nutrients. I used diammonium phosphate. So I did every other day until the appropriate amounts. I'll put a little recipe up so you can follow along. And then I stabilized with potassium sorbate as well. So I did sort of test the gravity on it. This worked out to be around, oh, I didn't even write it down, but from memory. So I brewed this in about in a 5-gallon fermenter, which is about 19 liters. And so that's why I had 4 kilos of sugar, and it's quite a lot, plus all the sugar from the fruit, etc., etc. And I didn't write it down for whatever reason, but from my memory, this worked out to be around 15% alcohol ABV. So that's the approximate alcohol there. So it's quite strong, I suppose, for a wine. But yeah, it worked out quite deliciously, I think anyway. So I'm a sort of more of a rogue winemaker. I like to just throw crazy shit in there and just see what happens. I do have a few recipes that I'm working on at the moment, which are going to be very precise. So every little tiny thing is going to be calculated. That way it's easier to repeat. But get yourself a book. Get yourself a cool little book. If it's bound in leather with deers on there, that's cool as well. I've got a lot of booze kicking around this house. I live next to a pub. It is very easy for me to get alcohol, so I wouldn't be drinking this out of desperation, but as you can see, this is all we have left. 19 liters after 4 or 5 months, I guess, aging. So we've probably been drinking this, for a couple of months, and this is all I have left. So that by itself should be a testament to how, palatable it is. I fucking just realized that my microphone wasn't on, so apologies for the shithouse audio quality. Well, anyway, I pretty much fucked up this video because I didn't do the audio properly, but who cares? All my videos look like shit. It doesn't matter. The point is, this recipe is quite nice. Give it a go. Tell me what I could do better. There's a ton of good home brewers out there. I am just really sort of starting to take this a little bit more seriously, but I honestly believe that this is nice. Go and get your own berries off the side of the road. If you live in South Australia, I'm sure wherever you are, you can find berries. Obviously, I'm based out of the Adelaide Hills in South Australia. There are so many berries. You just go during blackberry season, pick a whole ton of blackberries, smash them all up, put them in there, add a bit of yeast. You got yourself some berry mead, mate. You're fucking set, mate. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any tips, if you've got any questions, fire them away. I'll answer them as best I can. I'm not, like I said, I'm an amateur at best when it comes to homebrew, but I'm just sharing my journey and my experiences with all of you guys. So here's cheers.